Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. I am so happy that you are here. I am so happy that you've joined me for another conversation. Please remember this podcast is a safe space for my LGBTQ plus community and its allies. There's a lot happening in the world right now as it feels very heavy, and I want to let you know that I'm here for you. And again, this is a safe space to be yourself and have conversation. This is episode 5. Today's topic that we are thinking about dating in the gay culture. Where to start with this one? Because this is a complex topic, as I'm sure my LGBTQ plus community can agree with. I think I want to begin by when I came out, which I talked about last week. If you want to hear my coming out story, tune into episode 4. I thought joining the gay culture would be a lot like straight dating in a way of like, I was like, okay, I'll find my boyfriend and eventually I'll my boyfriend will get married and we'll be husbands together and I'll have this wonderful romance story. Um, that has not happened. I am still single. I am still looking for the one, as I believe many of us are in the culture. My DMs are open. My boyfriend applications are open. I wonder if I should provide a little bit about myself. Maybe this is the way to find a man, like put myself out through the podcast. If you don't know me, I am Dylan. I am 28 years old. I currently live in Maryland, but will probably move somewhere soon. I'm open to relocation, I should say. Think I'm kind, I'm empathetic. I love to have conversation as the purpose of this podcast is. I will not ghost you. I will be honest with you. I love to travel. I love coffee shops. I love adventure and being spontaneous. I love intimacy. I love providing a safe space for you and listening and also having deep conversation. I am big on personality, especially as I get older. Anything else you want to know? That sounds like a good time. I love to go out and I love to have fun. If that sounds like a good time, hit my DMs. Anyway, I feel like in the gay culture, it's a bunch of situationships that do not work out. I feel like there's a lot of reason for that. I feel like a lot of us grow up suppressing who we are, so we don't really see or are exposed to queer relationships or healthy relationships, and so we really don't let our walls down. There's always the running joke of 3 months is a long relationship in the gay culture. I think for me, looking back, and I'll talk about my experience in just a little bit. I think I was closed off because of suppressing myself for a long time. I thought I couldn't really be vulnerable in situations that maybe I could have been a bit more vulnerable in. I feel like as you date and as you experience more with dating, you kind of notice the patterns that occur in your dating life and what you need to fix and what you can learn from. I feel like one of the biggest patterns I learned is I was afraid to let my walls down. I'm working on that. I think when it got a bit too deep or a bit too scary, or this person could have been a person that I saw potential in, I ran, and I would rather put the walls up to protect myself. I think it was a defense mechanism from, again, I don't want to say it over and over again, but suppressing myself and not being myself for or my real authentic self for a long time. And that has prohibited a lot of experience in getting deeper into relationships for me. I think it was easier that way. I feel like people have told me, and I wonder if your experience is the same if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community. People have told me when I've like a few years back, I remember people telling me, you're really picky. You are, especially when it comes to dating. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good to be picky. I think it's good to be selective because that is, the person you're looking to spend the rest of your life with. But I think also you have to realize that no relationship is going to be perfect. I think I always, and sometimes I still think, I always think that Prince Charming is going to come along and I'm instantly going to know I'm going to have this perfect romance story and he's going to sweep me off of my feet. And I think I always was looking for that. Maybe I expected a bit too much, and that prohibited me from getting deeper into connections with people. I think I've learned that relationships aren't perfect, and they say when you know, you know. I guess I haven't had that. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit if I've had that feeling or hint at it at least. I think that's what I've learned is I ran a lot and was afraid to be vulnerable and kind of let my hair down or walls down just because it was easier for me to not get hurt. I think I protected myself from the get-go of getting hurt. And I think it's a good thing to be picky as long as you're not closed off. I think it's not a bad thing to be selective and really go for what you want or what you're looking for and, expect that person to match up to that. I think that's a good thing, but I think I took it a bit too extreme. And someone said to me one time, and looking back, I can agree with this. At the sight of the first red flag, I was out. I think I did do that. I noticed one red flag and I was like, okay, I don't want to get hurt. This is like maybe trying to think of examples, maybe personality traits that I didn't like. Someone was maybe too controlling or too s- acted too controlling too early or participated in things that I didn't do. I think that was a big one, especially when it comes to, I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, activities that I wanted to stay away from. I think maybe another red flag was I think I can get a bit jealous, I'm not gonna lie. So I think that's one thing I've noticed and been self-aware about myself, and maybe it was insecurities growing up and, being young. I think somebody would act a certain way if within entertaining somebody while we were out or something like that. I think that was a big red flag for me. If we didn't have a lot in common, that was a big one. Are these red flags bad? I don't know if these are bad. I think I just always looked for things to be like, okay, this is why. Like, you did this, so I'm out. I think my main deal breakers, especially now, I would say I try to be less picky and I'm trying to be more vulnerable and let things happen more naturally as I've learned from my past patterns of running and not staying in things when, they get a little too serious or get a few dates in. I think my deal breakers now I can think of are cigarettes. I really don't like the smell, and I've had past experience with other people that's one for me. I can't do if you smoke cigarettes, I'm out. I think activities, as I said earlier, that I don't want to participate in. I don't know if I can say that word online. I think if you're too controlling, that's a deal breaker for me. But I think it's something you learn over time. I don't really think that's something you maybe pick up right away. Even though I'm a bit, well, I'm not controlling in relationships, I guess, more in my life, which I'm learning to let go. Honestly, I really think that's it. I don't really try to have a lot of deal breakers. I think I'm trying to be more open to realizing that relationships are work and they're not perfect. And, this perfect, I really want this perfect Prince Charming to come sweep me on my feet. That would be ideal. But I think I have to let my vulnerabilities and walls down a little bit. And I think that's why, honestly, I think that's one of the reasons I was called to move out of Los Angeles was to realize and learn from a lot of my past behaviors and not only heal, but when I do move or when I do take the next step, I think I'll go in more aware of things. One thing I always wonder about is if I've already met my person, my soulmate, or I still have to haven't met them and it's a later on thing. There is research done that the average woman finds their soulmate at 25 and men are closer to 28. I am 28, so fingers crossed. I'm at that age, praying for it. My therapist, who I used to go to in Los Angeles, asked me a question once in one of our sessions about dating, and it stuck with me to this day, and I still think about it. I'm paraphrasing, so I don't remember the exact verbiage, but she said, "Do you think out of everyone you have met, is there anyone you could see you have unfinished business with?" Obviously, the other side would be, are all those chapters closed, and you think everything ended for a reason? At first, I took a moment to think, and I said no. I reflected on my past experience, and I didn't think there was anybody that felt like unfinished business or there was unfinished business there. She asked me this, I would say, if I'm approximating like last summer. Now reflecting after deciding to do this episode, I could actually say there's two men that I think I have possible unfinished business with. I'm not going to say who they are, but I believe it's meant to be. God will make it happen and they will come back into my life. I will give a hint. I will say one is the safest hug I've ever felt in my life. And one is the best kiss I've ever had in my life. It felt like everything kind of disappeared for a moment. That's all I'll say on that. No, I don't want to give too much away. I think those things are really important for me though, like the intimacy of like a safe hug when you kind of feel like everything disappears or when you're kissing someone or the eyes lock across the room. That's really important to me. Small acts of intimacy like that are really important to me where it does kind of feel like a movie for a second and everything disappears for a moment. I really do enjoy that. I'm still thinking about that kiss. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Y'all got me flustered talking about this. Some things happen for a reason and give you something to remember. And I think that was one of those moments. Both of them were actually. Should I give the location? No, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not, because then it'll give it away. Actually, maybe not, but it might, so I don't want to do that. I want to transition to talk about my own dating history and maybe reflect a little bit. I think I've reflected a bit already, of maybe I haven't been the most vulnerable or I've cut things off a little too soon because I felt scared and didn't want to put my walls down. I do like the idea of a first date though, especially someone you're excited to meet, whether you met that person in public or through a dating app. I like the idea of getting ready and the butterflies feeling of not knowing how it's going to go and being nervous. The idea of the potential of what actually could happen and change your life. Isn't it weird to think that like any moment you can meet your person and your life changes forever? Maybe putting some music on and getting yourself pumped up to be yourself and maybe having a little drinky drink before, a little pregame. I think I will say, I think no date is a mistake. I know a lot of people say that was a waste, or I should say no date is a waste of time. I know a lot of people say that date was a waste of time or why did I do that? Like, that person's not for me. I don't believe in that. I believe in you meet every person for a reason. Either that's your person or they teach you a lesson. Maybe they teach you something and, oh, I don't really like that. They acted like that and I'm not going to tolerate that in the future. Or they just generally give you one night of fun. Maybe it's not the person for you, but they give you one night of being able to go out and experience and being in the moment. And I think we should all be grateful for that. I do want to say specifically in the gay culture, I think I've been talking a little bit more general, but I do want to say specifically in the gay culture, I think, and I'm talking from a Los Angeles perspective as I lived there for 5.5 years. I think maybe not the first date, but early on, I think if you are trying to date somebody or seeing somebody, I think you should take them to WeHo. If you obviously don't live in Los Angeles, I think in general you should take them to a gay bar. I think a lot of answers can be had then, and you can see how they act. It's important to kind of gauge, especially if you want a monogamous relationship like me. It's important for me to gauge, is this person fully entertaining you? Or is this person entertaining other people and that's not fly with me? It's a test, man. Oh, I'm giving up my secrets. Maybe should I close my mouth? But it is. I think it's a test to take a man to a gay bar. I think I've had experiences both ways where I've taken men to gay bars and they've entertained somebody a little bit too much for my liking. And I'm not saying you can't. I mean, I think you should fully give your attention to that person you go on a date with. They took the time to get ready and get dressed up and meet you there. I'm not saying you can't talk to other people and you can't mingle. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think there's certain lines you shouldn't cross and boundaries of even if this isn't working out or I kind of don't feel this might go anywhere, I think you should still be respectful and have respect to realize that person did take time out of their schedule to come meet you and with the same hope that you did. And maybe it just you guys aren't meant to be, but you can still be respectful. I've had personal examples of I remember I was on a first date once in WeHo and we went to a show and then we grabbed some drinks before and after the show because the show ended kind of early. And we were talking to these other group of men, which again, I don't mind the mingling part. I know some people on a date. Would I prefer the date just to be 1v1 and us having a conversation? Of course. Like I think that's what I would prefer, but it's not a deal breaker if you talk to other people because you're trying to get to know that person. So I really do, at least I want to spend some of the evening. I would prefer all of the evening, but I think I want to spend, especially if it's going well, but I want to spend, having one-on-one conversation and getting to know the other person. That's just me. So if you take me to WeHo, I'm gonna putting myself out there again. No, if you take me to WeHo, I'm gonna pay attention to you and I'm gonna give you that one-on-one moment of talking to you and being respectful. As I was saying, I've had personal experience where I did go out and we saw a show and then we grabbed a drink after another bar and we were talking to these men, which is, like I said, is fine, but maybe tell me in the comments if this is a deal breaker. After we were getting ready to, maybe we were getting ready to leave or the conversation was fading out, I don't remember which one. He took another guy's number. I was so turned off by that, and maybe that's the picky side of me, maybe, but just for me, I would never do that, especially if you're on a first date and you're trying to get to know somebody. I know some people will be like, don't let a date stop you from finding a husband or whatever, but I just think it's a respect thing. Like I would decline and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a date with this person. You know, I want to give all my time. That was such a turn off to me. And it was weird because the show was great. Like we really vibed at the show and we were having a good time and I really enjoyed it. And the conversation was flowing and that was the one turn off for me where I was like, I don't know if I did not continue with that. Maybe that's a little bit too big. I don't think you should ever entertain somebody to that degree on a date. Because remember, that person, again, came out and, I know I keep saying, but came out and took time out of their evening, got ready, which is more time to come and see you. I think that's rude. I would never. I've had another situation in the same location where I was on a date with somebody and we were grabbing drinks and I had to use the bathroom. So I walked into the bathroom and other man, wanted to hook up with me. I don't know if he realized in the bathroom. I don't know if he realized if I was on a date or not. But me being the respectful man that I was raised to be, I declined. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm on a date. Like, I have to, you know. And it was odd after because then I walked back out of the bathroom after I used the bathroom and like washed my hands and sat next to the person I was on a date with. And then he came and stood like next to us. I think just trying to make me feel pressure and make me feel weird. Maybe I don't know. I know a lot of people like to flirt and entertain and WeHo, and that's a thing, and that's okay. I think if you're out with your friends, do what you want. I just think a dating situation is a bit different. That's why I always say take them to a gay bar because you'll see. I think if you notice they're flirting a bit too much, that might not be the one for you. Maybe they're just not into you. Maybe they're just trying to have fun. I'm not saying, and I do want to add a disclaimer here, or I do want to say I've had good dates at gay bars. I named, a couple examples where maybe they weren't the best, but that's what I was talking about. I do want to say I've had more good dates in WeHo than bad. I've had a lot of dates where men have been respectful and, we've enjoyed our time together and we had fun and they obviously I'm single, so none of them ended up working out, but I think back to earlier. No, oh, I need to cut that. Then also I think there's another side to going to into the gay culture for dates. I think it just makes you feel, I mean, I personally don't care. I'll go anywhere on a date, but I think it does make you have that sense of comfortability to know you're among likewise people as you and people in the community and in a gay safe space. I think that's also important because it can also make both of you feel comfortable and to be yourself and not really worry about anything. I'm not a dating expert, but I've had a lot of first dates. What's that movie, 50 First Dates? I would say I'm trying to think of some dating tips. I think, especially in the queer culture, I think it's always important to be yourself. And I think you learn that as you grow older. I think sometimes you feel like you have to maybe tone yourself down a bit or be a little bit more reserved because you don't want to scare the person away. They're going to find out about you anyway if it works out and how you are and what bright of a light you are. So I think be yourself and be authentic. I think that will allow people to be more comfortable with you. I think be respectful, as I said earlier. Don't go giving out your number to other people. I think, like I said, I've had a lot of good first dates. I'm only pointing out my bad ones on this podcast. So I'm not selling myself here, am I? I am a good time. I promise I'm a good time. If you take me out, I am a good time. Hope some men that have been on dates with me can say that. I think another thing is don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think that goes back to being authentically yourself, but I think a lot of times we can put pressure on ourselves and get really nervous because we've never met the person before. And I think just go in and have fun. I think that's important. This is just me. I think you should go to a place where you can have conversation, whether that be a bar or a restaurant or a park. A coffee shop, whatever. I don't think you should go to like a movie on the first day unless you do dinner before, but that's just me because I think you should be able to want to get to talk and know the person and see if you vibe and see if there's an opportunity to have a second date there. I don't know if this is a tip, but I will say I can be maybe, what's the word? I can be guilty of this. I don't know. I think this depends on the person. I think you won't scare you in a way that you're meant to be with. I think destiny is a real thing, and whoever you're meant to be with, you will find each other regardless of circumstances. I think sometimes, and I don't know, I'm actually curious to see if this is a bad thing, and I'm curious to see what people think. I think sometimes I would go in a bit too serious, and I would make my intentions clear from the beginning of, hey, I do want something serious for most situations, and I think sometimes you give off, or I would give off a bit too much of like, hus not, I don't want to brag. I feel like that's bragging, but like, I'll really be looking for something serious, even though I talked about my pattern earlier, why I would never make it, why I never made it that far. But I think in the beginning, especially, I think sometimes maybe just go and have fun and just see if you vibe with that person, I think is important and see if they could be a potential person. I think sometimes, I don't know actually if I want to say that because I think with the right person, you won't scare them off if you're coming across a bit too serious and looking for something. So maybe that is a good thing to come across like that because if they react and they kind of are pushed away, maybe that's not the one for you. I don't know. Is it like, is that a thing? Like, are they the, that's actually a good question. Let me know, do you think if you go in with really serious, I'm not talking like literal energy of how you act, still have fun. I'm talking more of like your intentions. Do you think if you go in with serious relationship intentions in the first date, do you think that scares someone off, or that's do you think that is going to scare someone off, or do you think that actually is a good thing because then you can kind of weed out the people that aren't as serious? I don't know. That's actually a good question. I will say it scares me to talk about this. I don't think I've ever talked about this on a public platform, and who knows if I'll actually include this in the edit, but I'm just gonna record it just in case. I think it scares me that I'm 28 and I don't think I've really, and maybe it's a gay culture thing, I don't know. I'm 28 and I really would never consider myself to be in a serious relationship. I think that scares me. Maybe it's because I came out, not until I was 24, and I feel like sometimes time's running out as I didn't get the experience of teenage love, and that scares me a bit. I think I've definitely had, things, but I don't think I've had like a serious kind of relationship that I've been looking for. I think that scares me at 28. I don't know if that's a gay culture thing of like a lot of people are older or in their late 20s and still yet to experience that. Maybe that's because of the vibe of the culture, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know one day my person will come. I know one day I'll get that romance that I'm looking for. I do believe in that. I do believe if no matter what, if you are destined to be married, you will get married or you will have that serious relationship no matter what with that person. I think your soulmate is out there and they will find you, or you'll find each other, I should say. Do you guys believe in soulmates? I'm also curious about that too. I do. I believe that you have a soulmate and you have a person that you're meant to be with. And when you know, you know. I don't think, actually, I don't want to say that because I don't, okay. I do think sometimes, and now while we're on the conversation of soulmates, I do think sometimes you meet your person and God, this is kind of a spiritual kind of view, but which, not saying that in a negative way, but I think sometimes God gives you a preview of your person and maybe you two aren't ready. You kind of have to lose each other to find each other, as they say. I think you kind of get an appearance of what your life is going to be like with that person, or a flash what your life is going to be like with that person, and it gets taken away from you. And then when you two are actually ready to enter that serious relationship and fulfill the destiny, then it happens at the right time. I do believe there is a wrong person, right timing. Or sorry, I do believe there is a right person, wrong timing effect. I know that's a debate, but I do believe that there is that. And sometimes you do meet the person for you, just not at the right time because you just both aren't ready for it and it wouldn't work out at that time. And God wants to make sure that you guys meet each other at the right time so it does work out. It does suck while you're in that waiting period, I guess, because you're thinking about it constantly. I obviously don't know if I'm in that waiting period. I think just because I feel like I have unfinished business with people doesn't mean they're my person. I just feel like there could be, but I also am very confident that if they are, they will come back into my life. So maybe I am in the middle of a right person, wrong timing story, and I don't even know it. Or maybe I haven't met my person yet and they'll come along later on. I'll never know until I know. I know this is a theory, but I also do believe in the invisible string theory. I think I want to read the definition of it as I don't want to get it wrong. It says, as its at its core, the invisible string theory suggests that we are all linked to those who we love, regardless of physical distance or separation by an intangible yet powerful bond. The thesis of the invisible string theory lies in the idea that love knows no bounds and transcends the limitations of time and space. I do believe in that. I believe in soulmates, so I do believe that there is a person for you and you will find that person at the right time. I don't know, isn't that, I'm not sure, but I know there's also another theory where I can't remember the name of it, and maybe it's part of the invisible string theory, but don't quote me. I know there's another theory where, and maybe this is just the romantic in me, but I know there's another theory where you guys will be like in certain situations, but you won't know each other, and then later on you meet. Like the universe and God doesn't let you meet because he knows it wouldn't work out, but later on you meet. I've had friends tell me about this where like they met each other later on in life when, a couple of my close friends, and I think it was they had like mutual friends like that were really close to each other. Something I really want to get the story because I don't exactly remember, but they had like mutual friends that were close to each other, but they never met. And then later on they met. I've also seen examples or heard examples where people have been in the room together but have never met because it was like a big event or something. And then they meet later on and somehow it comes up where they're like, oh, I was at that event. Or, they were sitting right behind you or something. You didn't even notice because you don't know who they are. And so, and then later on you meet and realize like there was one girl online that I think I remember seeing where she her boyfriend now, like they were at some event and I think they were like circle tables or something. And she was at one circle table and then she took a video. And in the background of the video was her boyfriend. And but they didn't know each other at that time and they didn't meet that night. And then later on they met and realized that he was in the video or something like that. That's crazy to me. Like that is absolutely wild to me. And I do believe in that stuff, like the right timing and divine timing. I also They also say like is it the you meet twice theory? Now we're just talking about theories. I know there's a dating culture, but episode, but there's also the you meet someone twice theory, which I find interesting. And I don't know, I just like to think it's real. I know it says there's no scientific basis about it, but sometimes you just believe in theories. I think this one says, and I want to read again the definition because I don't want to quote it wrong. It says the you meet twice theory eventually suggests that encountering the same person on multiple occasions, especially in seemingly random or unexpected situations, could be a sign of a deeper connection, fate, or meaningful karmic link, implying that this person is meant to be in your life for a reason. So maybe you guys, and I think I talked about this a bit earlier, where like I do believe somebody will come back into your life if they're meant to be your person. And I do believe that sometimes you meet your soulmate and God gives you a preview of your soulmate, but you don't exactly work out the first time. And then the second time you do when you guys are ready. Like you have, and when I say that, I mean you have like a brief thing. I mean, there are some people who have like long-term relationships break up and then, get back together later on when they're both ready and end up happily living together. I wouldn't be in that because again, but that is an example too. But you meet I do believe sometimes you meet for a brief time and you kind of get a preview, and then later on when you're both ready, you actually date. I do believe in that, and I guess that's considered the you meet twice theory, where if you do see that person again, maybe something is deeper. I do really believe in that, and I do believe that if anyone I have been on a couple of dates with or a brief encounter with is my person, I think they will pop up back in my life. I think destiny is a thing and divine timing is a thing. So I do believe in that. I do want to talk a little bit about the vulnerability in the culture. And again, this is not anything negative against the gay culture. I think it's a wonderful culture. And I think from the podcast so far, the few episodes that I've taped, you guys know that I love queer culture and I love the gay culture. But I do think a lot of us and maybe, I'm just speaking for people that I've talked to and my friends that are in the culture or people, when you're out on a night of the town or whatever. I do believe some people struggle with vulnerability in the culture. I'm one of those people. I've already said that, where like sometimes it's hard to put your walls down because you've had to suppress yourself for a long time. And I think a lot of us grew up without a safe space to really be ourselves. So I think sometimes we're afraid to open ourselves up fully to others, and then we learn later on. But I do think sometimes we run because we never felt like we had a safe space growing up to authentically be ourselves. So it's a constant wrong game or constant fear game. I'm not gonna lie, I love the gay culture and I love the lust of it and I love the, be authentically free in yourself and to have fun, whether that's, whatever your idea of having fun is. I think as long as you're having fun and you're okay with what you're doing, I think it's okay. I think you should do what you want. Um, as long as, everyone around you is down for it, or if it's just a yourself thing, obviously, if you're okay with it. Because I don't know, I love maybe I'll talk about this a little bit, even though it's a gay, I mean, I guess it's part of dating. Like, I think everyone, especially in the gay culture, and again, only if you're comfortable with it, but I think everyone should experience going out to the gay bar and flirting with the gay men and mingling and having fun and, making out with someone on the dance floor. And I think that's a special part. You can look back one day and be like, oh, like, I had myself some fun. I let myself live. I think you're supposed to, especially in your 20s, I'm just speaking because I'm 28. I think you're supposed to live in your 20s and you're supposed to have fun. So I think it's a great thing. And um, I think there's a difference between like, I think there's two sides. Like I love it and I think it's fun. And I think there's also like, you could look at it. I think it's from what perspective you look at it. Like you can look at it through a deep perspective, but I think sometimes we don't have to take things seriously all the time and we should just have fun. And, you know, I do love, can I say, I do love taking people who have never been to gay bars before to gay bars for the first time, but not really like, and they're like clueless about what's gonna happen. Like you walk into some gay bars and there'll be like gay porn playing on the TV, and I love, especially straight people. I think it's so funny when you see the reaction because I'm like, oh, whatever. Like I love this. Like this is awesome. I love the environment, but like I just think it's so funny to see straight people's reaction. I'm sorry. I think it's funny to me. I don't know. Or like, I think if you go to WeHo, and obviously I've been enough where like you'll just see a bunch of things, and I think it doesn't bother me. Like I don't care. I've had my fun there, and I think like I think some people are like taken back. It's really funny. I'm sorry. But like I'm just like I love it. I'm like, yes, like get it. Like, oh, I love it. I mean, I'm sure there's more to see. There's always more to see, but I've had my experience of being there and seeing things. I think I'm at the point where I'm looking for something serious and something, you know, meaningful, but I think everyone is on their own journey and their own path and do what you want. Like go out, have fun. Like I always say, I think you should have fun in your 20s. I think you should go out, party, have fun, like make memories with your friends and whoever. Like go have a good time. I remember I met someone recently who was in their like younger 20s. I was like, you better go out. Like you better go out, have fun, like live your life while you're here. You're blessed to, live in a city with such deep gay culture in your early 20s. Like go out, have fun and really experience it. I think that's just for me. Because I didn't move to LA till I was 23, and then obviously I wasn't out, and then I think I came out at 24 ish. So I'm like, if you're like 20, 21, well, you have to be 21 to get in the bars, but if you're 21, like go live your life and go have fun. I think you should always create memories and you always look back at it with your friends one day and be like, I'm so glad we did that. I do want to wrap this up, but again, thank you for joining me. I think it's wonderful when we get to explore topics about gay culture and have these conversations together. And again, this is always a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community and its allies, and I'm always here for you. and know that we will get through this together. I'll see you next time.